If you've been paying attention to local news in the past couple of years, you probably know that Entergy's Pilgrim nuclear power station is scheduled to close in May of 2019. In recent news, Entergy announced a plan to sell the power station after the shutdown to Holtec International for decommissioning. Entergy says that Holtec International can decommission the plant faster than they could. The sale prompted a special meeting of the Nuclear Decommissioning Citizens Advisory Panel. PCN was there to learn more.
Tonight's meeting is very important because it's the first opportunity since Entergy announced that they had plans to sell the decommissioning and the facility, Pilgrim, to a newly formed joint venture between Holtec International, a very well-known company who's provided the dry cask storage in other locations, and a combination of other companies with similar experience in the decommissioning business. This really is the first opportunity for the public, the elected leaders, and the panel to hear from those participants directly. Over the last 12 months, the panel has been engaged primarily in education and in learning the issues. This is a citizens advisory panel, although we have some very, very bright people on it who are experts in the given area. It is a citizens panel. And the role was to provide advice and counsel to the governor, the legislature, and the various departments of the Commonwealth to help make sure that the decommissioning of Plymouth was done in a safe, financially responsible, environmentally responsible, and also to make sure that the community was not further disrupted by becoming a de facto nuclear waste storage site. There's a whole series of very important issues that we're concerned with. It ranges from how do we make sure that all the employees are properly taken care of? These are our neighbors. We want to make sure that it's not closing up shop and all their jobs are gone. How do we make sure, for example, that the spent nuclear materials are handled properly and are safeguarded over the decades to come? The fact of the matter is that Plymouth, right along Cape Cod Bay, a very environmentally sensitive area, will be a de facto nuclear waste site for the foreseeable future, and it could be a long time. So it's critically important that everybody understands what this new partnership brings to the table and how financially they will be able to support the long-term safe storage of that material and the restoration of the site so that it once again can be used by the town of Plymouth.
Entergy is not in the business of decommissioning nuclear power plants. We're in the business of running nuclear power plants. So when we made the decision to shut down, we started to look at the best opportunity for another company that specializes in that work to take over the decommissioning of the plant. And Holtec has got a partner, SNC Lavalin, and together they have decades of experience in working on these kinds of projects. There has been a change in the market for power, and it's a little complicated, but Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station, along with other power plants in New England, rely on power prices that are set by an independent entity called ISO New England. And it's a very complicated factor, but it's driven largely by natural gas prices. Natural gas prices have been low in recent years. Power prices have been low, so the revenue that the plant gets has gone down. At the same time, the cost to operate the plant has been rising, and the revenue is diminishing, so that makes the plant unprofitable. And under those circumstances, we made the decision to shut down. Well, the plant will shut down around June 1st, 2019, and that's certain. The transfer to Holtec could be shortly after that. It depends on the regulatory schedule. What has to happen for this sale to go through is Entergy has to file an application with Holtec at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the Federal Nuclear Regulatory Commission. The NRC, as they're called, reviews that application and then can either approve it or reject it. If they reject it, then Entergy would continue to be the owner and we would have to manage the decommissioning in some other way. But if the NRC approves it, then the sale would go through. And we don't have a specific timetable for when the NRC would act. They don't have a set schedule by which they have to make a decision. But our expectation is that we will file that application in the fourth quarter of 2018, and we would hope to have a decision from the NRC by the end of 2019. So that's the general schedule that we're working with. But the first thing that happens is when we shut off the plant, we take all of the nuclear fuel that's in the reactor and put that in the spent fuel pool. It's a big pool of water where other spent fuel has already been placed. Once you get all the fuel out of the reactor, the next step is you take all the fuel that's in the pool, including the most recent loading, and put that onto what's called dry cask canister storage on site. And then once you've gotten all of the nuclear fuel into dry cask containers, you've dealt with about 99% of the radioactive material that's on a site with a nuclear plant. So you've got that safely stored. And then what's left is an industrial site. And all the buildings have to be taken down. All of the underground pipes that are near the surface have to be dealt with. And you have to regrade the property. But it's just a large deconstruction project at that point. And that takes, after you've dealt with all the spent nuclear fuel, that probably represents about 60% of the time for the work to be done. Entergy will just focus on its utility business in the South. Entergy is a utility provider to customers in Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. It's a traditional utility where we own the generation, manage the transmission lines, own the distribution lines, and provide service to the customers.
All opposed? Thank you very much.
The next Nuclear Decommissioning Citizens Advisory Panel meeting is September 19th at 6:30 at Plymouth Community Intermediate School's Little Theater.